S. Chan presents Educational Video Lectures. Difficult concepts made easy. Study anywhere, anytime.
Factors of production, a very common term used in economics. The entire business economy run on these factors of production where we have land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship. बट क्या ये फैक्टर्स ऑफ प्रोडक्शन सिर्फ इन्हीं चारों कॉन्स्टिट्यूएंट पे काम करते हैं? इट इज़ नॉट पॉसिबल अनलेस एंड अनटिल दे आर पेड फॉर.
If you want to study this topic in detail, refer to the book by S. Chan Publishing. Link is provided in the description box.
Welcome to S. Chand Academy. I am Dr. Suman. Now in this particular section, we'll understand that how these four factors are being worked upon and what are the theories behind these, because these things only work when they get something in return. For example, लैंड हायर करने के लिए आपको रेंट देना पड़ेगा, लेबर के लिए आपको उसी तरीके से उनको वेजेस देने पड़ेंगे. There has to be some kind of interest and profits for the entrepreneurship and the land laborer that you are having or the capital that you are having. These things entirely constitute the entire business economy and hence they run the business cycle. We will be talking about these one by one. Once we understand that what exactly is rent, what exactly is interest and what exactly is profit, we will be more easily making the policies because there are certain theories working behind them. बहुत easy terms लगते हैं हमें कि हाँ rent है, अरे किराया है. No, it's not like that. You have to determine the rent in a certain way. It's not how the random property dealers या आपके एरिया में एक रेंट डिसाइड हो गया, इस लोकेशन का ये रेंट है, ये हम एक बहुत ही वेगली डिसाइड करते हैं बिकॉज वी आर नॉट एक्चुअली, दीज इनकम्स आर नॉट बीइंग एक्चुअली at times added to the economy, to the GDP. But once they are being legalized and there is a certain way how they are being, or there has to be determination of rent or determination of interest. Interest for that matter is having a particular organization working behind it, that is the banks and the financial organizations. But rent and profits for that matter are sometimes determined without being even having the consent of maybe some government authorities or maybe the financial organizations. But these things are determined in a way in which it benefits both the user as well as the one who's providing the service. Now let's just look at that how these things are working precisely. How exactly we are going to have the rent in the economy, the profits in the economy, say the interest in the economy, and how there are certain theories which are working behind them. So what exactly is rent? So economic rent is an amount of money earned that exceeds which is economically or socially necessary. This can occur, for example, when a buyer working is to attain a good or service is considered exclusively in that particular market situation, and market imperfections does lead to the rise of economic rent. See what happens. I just told you that there is one situation where the rent is being determined randomly. So this is what is being discussed, that this is the amount or the money which is earned and it exceeds socially or economically at the same time. So what does that mean? I may require socially a particular amount, right, or economically a particular amount to lead my life, which is my necessity. Necessity as in इतना ही bare minimum मुझे चाहिए. लेकिन what I am doing is I am earning over and above that, and that particular amount is nothing but the rent. What happens with the rent? It is actually obviously earning which is exceeding the economical benefit or the social benefit. Market inefficiencies or the information asymmetries are usually responsible for creating this thing. What is this? Inefficiencies and asymmetries. That is what I told you. There is no such law or legal binding working behind it. So what is happening? There is some kind of inefficiency working, there is some kind of asymmetry in information working, and that is what is leading to the creation of economic rent. And this is why it is not socially or economically very much necessary. Economic rent is considered as unearned because there is no such record at times, and if there is no record, what happens? There is no such earning which is there and which is being put in the GDP, and it can appear in several contexts, maybe in real estate, maybe in monopolies, maybe in labor markets, but there is no such considerable proof that yes, this is being put across in the GDP. And that keeps on happening time and again, because economic rent can actually add up to a considerable amount in the GDP, but it is not happening. Why it is not happening? Because at times it is shown as unearned, because there is no such record. So theories of rent, for that matter, is not something which is done on a regular basis, or maybe the rent is precisely dependent on this particular theory or that particular theory, क्योंकि इसमें कोई मार्जिनल प्रोडक्टिविटी नहीं है, कोई प्रॉफिट अगर एस्पेक्ट हम देखते हैं तो ओनली एस्पेक्ट इज प्रॉफिट मैक्सिमाइजेशन, एंड दैट कैन बी डन रैंडमली बाय एनी मीन्स. सो वन पॉपुलर थियरी इज द रिकार्डियन थियरी. Ricardian theory is actually applied on the rent from individuals or from group of individuals, and they are based on the principle that producer must pay the landlord for the employment of their land. So what is that? Rent is actually paid for one of the factors of production, that is land. So what it is saying कि जो producer है उसको landlord को pay करना ही पड़ेगा no matter what, and that is why we had also learned in the earlier sections that rent is a fixed cost. Even if you have hired a particular piece of land, or maybe कोई shop है आपकी या घर है और आप COVID times पे you were not even utilizing that, बट आप फिर भी रेंट दे रहे थे, किसी ने आपको मे बी 50% डिस्काउंट कर दिया, किसी ने कोई भी डिस्काउंट नहीं किया, बट यू वर पेइंग द रेंट बिकॉज इट इज कंसिडर्ड टू बी अ फिक्स्ड कॉस्ट एज पर द रिकार्डियन थियरी. Another factor that needs to be kept in mind is that if the land is more productive than other lands, the person renting the land pays more. And what happens? So as per this, if लैंड इज मोर प्रोडक्टिव, आप ज़्यादा पे कर रहे हो, देन अदरवाइज शुड हैपन. अगर लैंड लेस प्रोडक्टिव है तो आप रेंट कम पे कर रहे हो, बट दैट इज नॉट द केस. व्हाट हैपन्स इज आप तभी एक तरीके से पे कर पा रहे हो इफ द लैंड इज मोर प्रोडक्टिव, देन यू आर बाउंड टू प्रोड्यूस मोर. द रेंटर पेज अ लोअर प्राइस इफ द लैंड इज लेस सस्टेनेबल. अगर आपका लैंड आपको लगता है कि सस्टेनेबल कम है, दैट मीन्स यू आर नॉट गोइंग टू हैव इट फॉर अ लॉन्गर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम, you may be ending up paying less, but that totally depends on the mutual decision between the landlord and the one who's paying for the land. So here one needs to keep in mind that this Ricardian theory of rent is something which is still being practiced. Although the modern theories has come up with certain changes, that there needs to be some contract between the two parties, there need to be certain kind of market rent which is applicable as per the government policies, but that is not feasible in each and every sector. Maybe in the public sector or the government sector you can have such kind of theories or laws applicable, but generally what we apply is the Ricardian theory, and that is how the rent is determined in the long run. Moving on to a very important aspect of the factors of production, that is nothing but the interest. So interest over here is what? Interest is being paid over and above the capital that you have taken. So what is it? It is the monetary charge for the privilege of borrowing the money. So borrowing the money is what? Your capital. You are taking the capital maybe from a certain party, or maybe from certain person, or maybe from a financial institution. What happens? Interest expenses or revenue is often expressed as, maybe in a particular economy it has been termed in dollar amount. In India also we consider it in this. Why? Because we have an annual percentage rate, and our interest over the economy, this interest is actually focusing on multiple things. What are those things? The interest is an important constituent of our GDP. If I have to see in the long run that what exactly is this interest doing, the interest is actually being paid over and above your borrowings. I have borrowed maybe 1 crore, but I am paying over and above that maybe annually a 10% rate or 20% rate, and that is the income that is being generated by the financial institutions. Now that is being contributed to the GDP. If it is an organized institution or a public sector institution, even if you are borrowing from a private institution, you will be ending up paying. But if you are taking it in any form from some individual entity, then you need to make sure whether you are having some kind of legal document or not. If it is not there, then there is no such contribution made to the GDP. Moving ahead, this interest is what? It is a monetary charge for borrowing. Obviously, you are borrowing it from some, and I again told you, financial institution, maybe public or private, or some individual unit. It may be earned by the lenders for the use of their funds. It is actually earning. If I am lending the money to someone, I am earning it, but I am ending up paying just the small amount of tax to the government, and that too if I have made some kind of contract. That needs to be understood. So it is often considered a simple interest. Obviously it is calculated on a simple interest basis, which is quite easy, and it is worldwide being followed on a simple ground, that how you are having the time consideration, the rate consideration, and divide it by a certain unit so as to convert it into a rate. It is associated with your current account, saving account, credit cards, and all those things in a formal setup, and it is highly dependent on the macroeconomic policies. Interest is such thing which is not dependent on your micro aspects, that is your demand or supply of an individual. It is dependent on the macro aspects, that is in firm demand, supply of the firm or maybe the industry, but not individual units. Now let's talk about the theories of interest over here. So the most important theory on which the interest is dependent is the classical theory, which states that there is the demand and supply, the law of demand and the law of supply, which are working, and this was propounded by Marshall and Fisher. Later on, many other economists had some modification on this. It is also called the real theory of interest, in the sense that it explains the determination of interest by analyzing the real factors of savings and investment. Savings and investment, these are the two factors. ये बहुत important है, आपकी क्या saving है, क्या आपका investment है, उस पे depend करेगा कि आप कितनी आपकी borrowing होगी. As in, if I have no saving, I need to borrow the money. If I am not investing judiciously, I will not end up having some kind of money which is good enough for my future. Ultimately, that will lead to having the interest, and saving and investment will determine your demand and supply. And that is how the classical theory was propounded. Next, coming to the Keynes liquidity preference theory, what it is saying is, ये भी interest का ही एक formula है, you can say, where Keynes is stating that interest is purely a monetary phenomenon, nothing but a monetary phenomenon. Classical theory was stating कि demand and supply and saving and investment involved है, but ये क्या कह रहा है, it is the reward of not hoarding but the reward of parting with liquidity for a specified time period. If you are parting with the liquidity of money, what is liquidity of money? The cash in hand. अगर आप थोड़े टाइम के लिए उस कैश इन हैंड को अवॉइड करते हो, दैट मीन्स यू आर स्टोरिंग योर मनी समवेयर, maybe a financial organization, you are bound to get interest in return. So it is what? It is reward of not hoarding the money with yourself in liquid form, but actually holding the money stored in some financial institution, and that is how Keynes has explained it. Now from this we have understood that this rent and interest both are working as important parameters for the factors of production, and more so they are having certain theories which are based on maybe the classical aspect or maybe the neoclassical aspect, and they look across that what is the current necessity, whether hoarding the money for a shorter span of time or keeping it with some financial organization, and then it will give you the return accordingly. So interest, rent both are somehow beneficial, and at the same time they will be giving you profits, but how they are contributing to the GDP, that is again something which needs to be studied deeply. We'll wait here for a short break, and after resuming we will be talking about profits, which is an important aspect of factors of production.
Now quality learning is easily available at your doorstep. S. Chand Academy brings detailed lectures based on UGC curriculum as per the New Education Policy 2020. So do not forget to subscribe to the S. Chand Academy and access the wide world of knowledge conveniently sitting within the comfort of your home. Stay connected and keep watching S. Chand Academy. Happy learning!
Welcome back after the break. Now we have understood that there is rent, interest who are working on certain theories. There is one more aspect which is very much required as a factor of production and as a part of factor payment for those factors. What is that? That is profit. What exactly is profit? As we know that there are multiple factors of production, one important factor of production for that matter is nothing other than the entrepreneurship. Unless and until we have a good entrepreneur or one who's actually initiating the idea, we cannot have something which is known as a good business. We cannot have a business which is long term, which is sustained and which is profit oriented. So at the end of the day, अगर आप अपना business start करते हो as an entrepreneur who's new in the market, what exactly do you want? You want nothing but profit. Whatever you are paying, that is your cost, you are bearing the cost, you are bearing certain amount of risk, and in return you are generating a huge revenue. If you are not able to generate that revenue, there is no point sustaining in the market. But if you are able to generate the revenue, when you subtract your cost or investment from that revenue, you will end up getting nothing but your profits. And those profits will result you to sustain in the market and creation of the goodwill that you require. You as a businessman or an entrepreneur want nothing but profit to sustain and to maintain your business in the long run, and also it will lead to the expansion mode. Let's just understand profit, and also we will try to understand that what are exactly the various theories of profit. So what exactly is profit? It is basically the difference between the revenue received from sales and the explicit cost. I told you whatever is your cost or whatever is your investment, there has to be a difference between your investment and the revenue generated from the sales. If that exists, that means, and that too a positive difference, that means you are earning a profit in the long run. As long as you are earning the profit, you are bound to stick to your business. You will never, lose out on the fact that yes, I will have to, switch to some other business or have the shutdown thing. ये सारी चीजें आपके दिमाग में नहीं आएंगी. Opportunity cost for that matter is the implicit cost, and opportunity cost at times is there in order to have profits for the long run. What exactly is opportunity cost? Opportunity cost will provide you, if suppose you are losing out on something in order to have the other thing. That means what? आपके पास दो ऑप्शन हैं, आपको मेट्रो से ट्रैवल करना है, आपको कैब से ट्रैवल करना है. The opportunity cost of losing out on the comfort of cab is that you are having better time results by traveling through metro. So this is why the opportunity cost is important, because you need to figure out कि किस चीज़ को lose करके आपको better profit मिल रहा है. ऑब्वियसली अपॉर्चुनिटी कॉस्ट एट एवरी स्टेप यू विल फाइंड आउट कि इसको लूज करने पे, इसको गेन करने के लिए मुझे इसको लूज करना पड़ेगा, बट वॉट आर यू गेनिंग, इज इट मोर प्रॉफिटेबल, और लूजिंग आउट से आपको ज़्यादा नुकसान हो रहा है, ये आपको खुद जज करना पड़ेगा. नाउ talking about profit as a concept, it is the economic profit which is the financial amount remained after getting the difference between revenue and investment. Opportunity costs are basically at times determined as profits. As I told you, आप एक ऑप्शन को चूज करते हो दूसरे ऑप्शन को फोरगो करके, जाने दे रहे हो आप दूसरे ऑप्शन को. क्यों जाने दे रहे हो? बिकॉज जिस ऑप्शन को आपने चूज किया दैट इज योर प्रॉफिट, or that is more profitable. Unless and until it is more profitable, you will not have that as your major option. It is used for internal analysis. Definitely, आप अगर profit आपके पास है तभी आप अपना business sustain करोगे. तो आप internal analysis कर रहे हो as well as overall analysis. It is a straightforward and precise thing. You calculate profit in a very easy way, and economic profit computation can help a company size up. That means I told you कि expansion आप कर सकते हो and also choose between what exactly is your potential business or maybe a potential business venture. That means what? अगर आपको ये देखना है कि कौन सा better option है, you will obviously go for the opportunity cost. At the same time, when you are calculating your difference between the revenue and the investment, you end up getting a particular amount which will result in what? Which will result in a kind of setup that will result in the expansion mode. अगर आप चाहते हो आपका business expand करे, what do you need? You need nothing but a particular calculation which is giving you a fair idea that yes, this is a profitable venture, nothing else. But this determination of profit is dependent on multiple theories. Now these theories are going to be different depending on the situation that you have. So let's look at the theories that we have. So we have majorly 7 theories that we'll be talking about: the rent theory of profit, wage theory of profit, risk theory of profit, dynamic theory, Schumpeter innovation theory, uncertainty bearing theory of profit, and marginal productivity theory. Amongst all these, the most commonly used is the marginal productivity theory of profit because it is the most focused upon. Let's talk about each of them one by one. So what is this rent theory of profit? Rent theory of profit talks about the rent that we have just discussed, that the rent may be unearned for, may be unaccounted for, but at the same time rent is something which is going to give you profit. So in the long run, rent is resulting in the profit maximization. So what rent theory of profit states? It states that if you want to have profit with the help of rent, if it is earned for, that means if it is accounted for or it is unaccounted for, the ultimate concern is to maximize your profit in the long run, nothing else. If you are maximizing your profit, that means you are able to establish a good rent theory of profit. If your theory behind earning the profit is wages, where do you do the compromise? The compromise is on acquiring more and more labor at lesser and lesser wages. This is actually should not be happening, but with time, as we have seen, many of the owners or many of the businessmen for that matter are adopting wage theory of profit in order to maximize their profit in the long run. If we say in humanitarian grounds, this should not happen, because if you are reducing the wages and you are not reducing even, what you are trying to do is, if I am paying 500 for 1 hour and for maybe 100 units, I am simply doing what? I will increase the number of units maybe by 10 units. So if I am paying 500 for 1 hour, अब as a laborer they will assume कि 1 घंटे के तो 500 मिल रहे हैं, but The number of units to be produced, which was 100 earlier, is now 110. So वो जो 10 वाला part है, that is profit for the one who's paying the laborers. Then third is the risk theory of profit. So risk theory is the most again common one because profit is related to opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is related to your risk. In order to earn profits, there is a certain element of risk involved. You are starting your business, you have certain investment, you have certain returns. These returns are bound to happen only when you are taking certain kind of risk. If you are risk averse, you cannot start any kind of new business, you cannot have any expansion mode, and so the result will be taking lesser risk, and no risk theory of profit as such is applicable on such business. If you are working on existing business bearing lesser risk, then that will not work here. The dynamic theory of profit. Dynamic theory of profit states that the change is the only constant. So if you want to have profit, you might have a very higher profit at some point of time, you might have a very lower profit. That is how your business cycle is determined. In expansion mode or peak mode, you may have a very huge profit, but in contraction and trough zone, you can have a very lesser amount of profit and at times losses, leading your business to be shut down maybe in the long run. Schumpeter's innovation theory. What it is saying, Schumpeter is the economist who have propounded this theory that innovation is the only way of having profit. So, if you keep on innovating, maybe your business cycle will not face any dynamism. It will face certain changes, but with the innovation you will be able to sustain to those changes. You will be able to retain your position in the market, and you will come up with new ideas time and again, which will result you to have a better kind of sustainability and hold in the market. You will be able to compete with your competitors, you will be able to have such a market position which will lead you to multiple heights, because innovation is the key right now. If you do not keep on innovating, if you do not keep on modifying, your earlier business might go into astray. Then there is uncertainty bearing theory of profit. This is again very common because profit is something which is based on risk. Profit is based on your investment, on what amount of revenue you are earning. Maybe in the initial stage you have a very huge earning, like how Jio entered the market. Initially they had to face losses. Uncertainty bearing theory is what? Somehow related to the risk, but आप रिस्क जितना बियर करोगे, मे बी इन द लॉन्ग रन यू विल हैव हायर प्रॉफिट्स. हायर द रिस्क, हायर द रिटर्न इज व्हाट इज बीइंग सेड, बट मे बी इट वर्क्स इन 90% केसेस, बट 10% केसेस इट विल नॉट वर्क. दैट इज वेयर अनसर्टेनिटी इज देयर. सो अनसर्टेनिटी क्या है? जियो ने स्टार्ट किया लॉस के साथ, बट दे वर सर्टेन कि आगे जाके उनको प्रॉफिट होगा, बट देर इज वॉज अगेन अनसर्टेनिटी इन मे बी द कॉमन मैन्स माइंड कि अभी तो ये फ्री में बांट रहे हैं, इनको कहाँ प्रॉफिट हो रहा है, राइट? बट वन हु कैन एक्चुअली फोरसी द फ्यूचर कैन ओनली लीड टू दिस काइंड ऑफ प्रॉफिट, एंड इन द लॉन्ग रन दे विल डेफिनेटली हैव प्रॉफिट्स इफ दे स्टिक टू देयर डिसीजन. लास्टली, marginal productivity theory of profit. It states that if you are earning profit, that will only because of the fact that there is marginal productivity. That means every other aspect that is being put across in the production, be it land, be it labor, they will have marginal productivity. Marginal productivity is what? Additional productivity. एडिशनल यूनिट प्रोड्यूस करने के लिए आपको कितना एडिशनल रिसोर्स लगाना पड़ रहा है, कितना एडिशनल यूनिट आप पुट कर रहे हो, एडिशनल लेबर लगा रहे हो, एडिशनल रेंट दे रहे हो, क्या वो एडिशनल चीज़ आपको लॉस की तरफ लेके जा रही है या प्रॉफिट की तरफ? If you are going into profit with marginal productivity theory, then you will continue the business. The moment your marginal productivity starts showing losses, that means additional labor लगाने पे मुझे profit नहीं हो रहा है, loss हो रहा है, तो मुझे वहाँ profit नहीं होगा. I'll go into loss and hence I will stop my business. So marginal is what? The additional aspect. Additional aspect will tell you that आपका additional profit है या नहीं है. With this, we come up to the end of the different theories of profit, and by now we have understood that there is just not a single thing कि हाँ ये profit है, ये मेरा loss है और इस पे मेरा सारा business चल रहा है. No, it will not work like that. How it works? It works on a certain principle, a certain theory. What theory you are following will ultimately result you to have a specific aspect, that is the profit. The ultimate goal of the business is to maximize the profit, and you will have that only when you have a deep understanding of the theories. That's all from my end. Thank you so much.
If you want to study this topic in detail, refer to the book by S. John Publishing. Link is provided in the description box. If you found our video interesting, please like, share and subscribe. And do not forget to press the bell icon.
All rights reserved. This video has been prepared for educational purposes only. No part of it may be reproduced or copied without the permission of the copyright holder.